Good morning, I'm Brittany Falkers, and this is Local 5 News at your desk on wearegreenbay.com. More information is expected to be released today after the bodies of two people were found inside a home on the Oneida Reservation. Oneida police were called to a duplex yesterday morning for a welfare check, and when police entered the home, they say they found a woman and man dead. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Brittany Falkers.
And I'm Nate Stewart. Making national headlines this morning, protests raged overnight in Charlotte, North Carolina.
The city is under a state of emergency amid ongoing unrest following the fatal police shooting of Keith Lamont Scott. Because of the recent police officer-involved shootings that happened in Minneapolis and Baton Rouge, sparking protests around the country. We recently, just this week, had a protest here with Black Lives Matter. You were there and greeted those. Tell us a little bit about what that was like and how it all happened.
Sure. This was a pretty spontaneous protest.
What's meant to honor lives lost is more of an eyesore along the Fox River. How city leaders plan to fix it. Good morning, and thanks for waking up with Local 5 this morning. I'm Brittany Falkers.
And I'm Nate Stewart.
After some words of encouragement and final safety checks, there was no turning back.
A little bit farther.
The first few steps were the trickiest, but after that, it was pretty smooth rappelling.
No, my nerves are gone.
And before I knew it, I was at the bottom.
Woo! The ground never looks so good. The people below me look a little bit like ants, which is a little scary looking down. It's a little frightening, but I'm feeling pretty good. And it's all for a great cause too, Darren.
That's it, we're ready to go.
Okay.
After a check of the equipment,
And relax like you're going to sleep.
it's time to doze off.
All right, well, we're about to get started, so I guess good night.
Usually sleep study patients stay overnight. For mine, it was a long 3-hour nap. But we've all got to get up sometime. The Duluth Experience dropped some serious knowledge bombs on all of their tours, but this one is all about the city's history. So today, I'm an official tourist. Well, the presidential election continues to draw attention really from all around the world, and those who'd like to vote early here in Green Bay can start doing so next week. Now, this has been a really interesting race between you and Johnson because you held this Senate seat 6 years ago in 2010. So what's different campaigning this time around? A large number of undocumented immigrants could face deportation under new Department of Homeland Security guidelines. The strict enforcement means people could be deported even if they're only accused of a minor crime, such as a traffic infraction. Winter returns to Wisconsin, bringing snow, sleet, and even lightning. And it's not over yet. Good afternoon, I'm Brittany Falkers. Thanks for joining us for Local 5 News at noon. Right when we thought spring was here, Old Man Winter came knocking this morning. Storm Team 5 meteorologist Dave Miller joins us for the area's most accurate forecast. Dave, a sticky Wednesday in the forecast, but rain later this week, and we could use some of that rain.
Much needed rainfall. We are going to end our dry streak very soon.
Our crunchy lawns, thank you.
That's right.
Thanks so much, Jordan. Over to you, Nate. Well, the Packers' preseason game last night against the Oakland Raiders is part of a tradition in Green Bay because it's also known as the annual Bishop's Charities Game. The partnership of the two started during the Vince Lombardi era, and you may or may not have noticed a little extra pop of color this morning. I'm sporting actually some pink in my hair for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's part of the Extending Hair, Extending Hope program at Keith's Hair Center. Well, Lori joins us from Bay Area Humane Society with a just super fun pooch. Tell us about Ziva.
Hey, Chris, happy 4th. The energy is awesome down here on City Deck.
Of course, Brittany's holding a baby.
I couldn't resist. I asked Amanda, I was like, can I hold little Willow for a while? This is Willow, and we're here with Amanda Shaver, the new homeowners here in De Pere. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on with us early this morning.
No problem.
It is a big day for you guys. It's been over a year in the making. You're about to move into your new home. How you feeling?
Now comes the burrito burger hybrid called the Whopperito.
I don't know about this bad boy. Check it out. It has the classic beef, tomatoes, onions, lettuce, and pickle. And while the Whopper features mayo, the burrito actually comes with a creamy queso.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, right now that it's not mayo, it's not so weird to me. And it's served on a tortilla instead of a bun. The good news is it is healthier than the original Whopper, but there's something about it that I don't think I could do it. It just weirds me out a little bit. Sorry, Burger King. I love your chicken fries, but
not a Whopperito.
Because it's so important to be comfortable in your own skin and find your own identity. And you can do that through fashion and beauty too. So tell us a little bit about the top 10 list that we have here. And it's all about fun and beauty.
Now, and it's pretty warm here, but nothing compared to what Australia is experiencing.
That's why we're trying to do those accents. Well, Australian police officer actually fried an egg on the hood of his vehicle.
The bonnet,
as they say. See, I can kind of do the accent every once. It's mostly British, but
Welcome back, Brittany.
We got someone
Thank
back
you.
this morning.
Yeah, it's good to be back at the anchor desk, getting back in the normal routine. Had Monday and Friday off. My parents renewed their wedding vows actually for their 35th wedding
Kind of an
anniversary.
emotional
Very
event?
emotional. I ugly cried. I ugly cried. Thanks for watching News at Your Desk. We hope you'll join us for Local 5 News at noon. And remember, Local 5 is always on wearegreenbay.com.
Why aren't we going anywhere?
Meet the Beaties. Dad Dave, Mom Sarah, Big Sister Brooklyn, and 20-month-old Jackson. We first introduce you to the family in May at Duluth's annual Kidney Walk.
We're walking for this little guy. He needs a kidney transplant probably within the next few months.
And while Jackson seems like your typical curious and charismatic toddler, he desperately needs a kidney transplant to survive.
He looks normal and looks fine, but then we realize he is on 8 medications and doesn't eat and doesn't feel good, every morning. Has tummy aches.
Jackson has lived with kidney failure since having complications while in the womb. And what makes finding a donor more difficult is his blood type and antibodies.
There was only about an 8% chance of finding somebody.
But after months of testing family members and friends, they did.
I'm more nervous about him than about me.
Meet Jackson's cousin, Brett Beatty, a junior at Iowa State and future civil engineer. But his family says Brett is not your typical 20-year-old.
To be willing to give up a kidney is crazy.
To give him that chance, he's so young.
Tomorrow, he's stepping in to save his cousin's life.
Even if it is family or somebody, it's still a big deal for somebody.
I look back to, all the good memories I've had, and I've only been alive for 20 years, and to really be able to help him with that is a big thing.
This week, the Beaties left their home in Superior for the Twin Cities because tomorrow, Jackson and Brett will have their surgeries.
So we're just doing what we can to be ready, but I don't think we'll probably still won't be ready, but it'll happen.
While Brett is having his surgery at the University of Minnesota Medical Center Fairview, Jackson will be here at Amplatz Children's Hospital. Now, Dave says there's about a 20-minute window to get Brett's donor kidney here, so doctors will be video conferencing throughout both surgeries to get the timing just right. There's a lot to think about in the days leading up to the surgery, but Brett's focus remains on one thing, Jackson.
Just like how he's going to be after. I'm more worried about him than, how he's going to recover.
Want to come up?
And although Big Sister Brooklyn has been waiting for this day, she's still nervous.
I know it's going to help him a lot, and he's going to feel a lot better, but I am a little worried for him because he is going to have a big scar cut in his tummy.
They may be separated by hundreds of miles and several years, but this 20-year-old is ready to give his kidney to 20-month-old Jackson.
Pretty selfless kid, I guess.
All of the Beaties are huge supporters of organ donation. Even after the surgery, the family says they won't stop spreading the message so that others can have a chance at life, like Jackson. Brittany Falkers, Eyewitness News. Mary says confronting her sexual assault was terrifying, but she says since speaking out, her journey has been empowering.
Now I've found this inner strength within me to say that I'm not giving up. I'm going to continue to fight and be a survivor.
Jane is another survivor, determined to change her life around since being sexually assaulted.
Now I'm going back to school, I'm doing a lot better, I feel a lot better about myself, and I feel like a lot of the weight is off my shoulders.
These two survivors found light at the end of a dark tunnel, but they worry about the countless others still suffering in the shadows. The U.S. Department of Justice says someone is sexually assaulted every 2 minutes, but it's also the type of crime that's least likely to be reported.
I think that society just don't want to know that it's going on, or they just don't want to deal with it.
Mary and Jane are not their real names. For their privacy and protection, we've masked their identities, but they're sharing their stories to encourage others to step up, speak out, and find healing. Mary was just 13 years old when she was sexually assaulted by her stepfather.
It was one of the scariest things I've ever been through in my life.
He was already physically abusive, but it turned sexual when he was alone with her one afternoon.
The next thing I remember is laying on his bed and he was pulling his pants back up. He looked right at me and said, "If you tell anybody, your mom and sister will be next."
That threat paralyzed Mary, and the 13-year-old kept the secret for the next 7 years.
If I talked about it or if I even thought about it, it made it real. And I didn't want it to be real.
As for Jane, she found herself the victim in a scenario that repeats itself all over the country.
It was awful. I didn't want any of my family to know.
She was drinking at a party with a friend who left her there alone. She was then coerced into a room by a man where she was forced into sexual acts against her will.
I didn't think they would believe me.
Because she was underage and drinking, Jane, like Mary, told no one, keeping her assault a secret. She thought she'd be blamed for what happened to her, and like many victims of sexual assault, she found destructive ways to cope.
I tried to block it out, and I dealt with it in other ways with a lot of alcohol and substance abuse.
Leanne Gerbavicic works with victims of sexual assault here at Superior's Center Against Sexual and Domestic Abuse. She says these kinds of stories happen all too often, and the lifelong after effects can be debilitating.
For example, depression, post-traumatic stress syndrome, unhealthy coping skills.
Trying to cope alone in silence is not unusual. The U.S. Justice Department says 6 out of 10 sexual assaults are not reported. But why? Fear is a major barrier keeping victims from getting the help that they need. Fear of retaliation from their attacker, fear that no one will believe them, that they'll be blamed and become a victim again.
Well, why was she wearing what she was wearing? Why was she drinking? It doesn't matter if you were drinking. It doesn't matter what you were wearing. No one has the right to sexually abuse you.
That's what Jane heard from the first person she opened up to, that she deserved it, that somehow it was her fault.
I think every victim or survivor needs to know that no one deserves that, and no matter what the circumstance is.
But there is hope. The staff at programs like CASDA provide a safe place for victims. Advocates offer emotional support, legal help, and provide sheltering. But they go a step further, educating the public and breaking through the ignorance surrounding sexual assault.
But it can be happening next door, it can be happening to your child, it could be happening to anyone you know, and they might just not be saying anything because they're scared.
Gerbavicic says that we can do our part too.
I strongly believe if we have community supporters, just our everyday citizens that believe these issues exist, then we won't have individuals who have the fear of reporting because they'll fear that they'll have that additional community support behind them.
With help, those assaulted can move forward. Mary and Jane say they're living proof of that. But it takes support from others to get there.
It's very important to think of myself as a survivor, not a victim.
It's not an easy journey, but one these women say is worth it.
I feel like I can be myself again and not be afraid and not let this hold me back from anything.
With photojournalist Dustin Johnson, I'm Brittany Falkers for Eyewitness News. And after that, it's on to stage 3, or slow wave sleep. Then finally, I hit the deepest stage, the REM, or rapid eye movement stage.
It's thought that most of the time people will have fairly significant, vivid, and fairly scary dreams. And most of the time people are amnestic. They don't remember their dreams.
If those REM sleep dreams can be so intense, why doesn't our body move around in a big way?
And that's because your brain, in order to keep you from enacting, dream enacting, or jumping out of windows or whatever it is, your brain will paralyze your body.
Sleep studies can shed light on everything from insomnia to daytime sleepiness to other health problems. For me, good news. The doctor says my only issues are occasional leg movements and some shallow breathing. But he gave me the all clear.
But in general, yeah, it's interesting, but nothing that I'm worried about.
Okay, good. In Duluth, Brittany Falkers for Eyewitness News.